So the movie does actually follow some parts of the book, but it's told out of order, and a few characters do get dropped. Luckily, the characters that it does keep are pretty good. We have Quasimodo, our protagonist, who just wants to live a life, but struggles with anxiety and poor self-esteem. I say that personality-wise, he represents the book character well enough, but let's look at the book character. He's actually deaf from ringing the bells in the tower, and is blind in one eye. Hell, he can hardly speak. The only person he can communicate with is Frollo, and only through an invented sign language. Speaking of which, Frollo is fucking amazing, and if you disagree, you're wrong, you probably hate Disney, and need to be eviscerated. Frollo is not only the absolute darkest Disney villain, but is also perhaps the most complex. He commits horrible atrocities, but tries convincing himself that he's doing God's work, that this is what he wants him to do, but he loves being a sadistic, racist, obsessive asshole. What's most amazing is that he's vastly different from the book character. Frollo in the book didn't kill Quasimodo's mother, he just took the baby as his own, and he genuinely loved the boy. When in the movie, he only took Quasimodo to save his own soul and forbade him from ever going outside. In the book, Frollo is a tragic villain. In the movie, Frollo is a monster. Plus, he gets the best song in the movie, but we will get to that later. Esmeralda is less interesting though. Fine, she's witty, independent, and kind, but let's look at the book character. In the book, she's a 16-year-old girl. In the film, she's a woman and a true gypsy. Where in the book, she is the daughter of a French woman who was stolen by the gypsies to take the place of another baby that they abandoned. That baby being Quasimodo. That's pretty fucked up, but Esmeralda in the movie doesn't even get a backstory. Esmeralda in the film would also rarely ever make mistakes. But in the book, she was, again, a 16-year-old girl! She had weaknesses, she had flaws, she was naive, she'd have to work harder, but she was still kind and compassionate. She actually gave the hideous Quasimodo water while he was in the stocks. She was just a lot more interesting in the book, and it made her more relatable. Also, the scene where she escapes Frollo's guards is fairly ridiculous. I'd much prefer if she used those parlor tricks. Phoebus is the least interesting character when compared to the book. In the book, he was a womanizer, not the honorable knight that we got in the movie, though he was a knight. In the book, he wants to cheat on his fiancée with Esmeralda, and she complies even though she wants to marry him, and he doesn't because he'll benefit from his marriage to his fiancée. There just isn't a lot that I can say about the actual movie characters, so let's move on to the gargoyles, and they're pretty bad. They have a few moments of real insight and actual humor, but they're mostly just annoying, and they get the only song that absolutely should have been cut. One is named Laverne, and the other two are named Victor and Hugo. Victor and Hugo. Victor Hugo. The last character that I'm going to talk specifically about is Clopin, and even though he's a very minor character, I can't help but find him fascinating. He's the narrator at the beginning, but he's also a character in our story. There are so many ways you can look at that. For me, it's comparable to the way some film directors make cameos in their own movies. Steven Spielberg in Jaws, Peter Jackson in The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, Quentin Tarantino in Pulp Fiction, M. Night Shyamalan in Unbreakable, Alfred Hitchcock in The Birds, Michael Bay in Trance. No! I am not using that as an example! So is this just a story that he made up, and is he inserting himself as a minor character? In the book, he is the leader of the gypsies rather than a puppeteer, but in the movie he seems to have some power among the gypsies as well, being literally judge and executioner. But how do you talk about an animated Disney musical without talking about the music? And Hunchback has some pretty good songs. The big orchestra at the beginning sets the tone for most of the movie. In Here, Out There creates a stark contrast between imprisonment and yearning for freedom. Topsy Turvy is a lighter song, but really helps in representing the chaotic fun that is the Festival of Fools. God Help the Outcast is a touching, poignant ballad about a woman's plea for a better world. Heaven's Light, Hellfire, is just spectacular. One representing gentle love and the other vengeful lust. A guy like you should have been cut. I've already said it, but I need to say it again. Court of Miracles is okay. Being less than 2 minutes long is probably the best thing about it though. Most of these songs range from pretty good to fucking excellent. The latter being Hellfire, In Here Out There, God Help the Outcasts, and The Bells of Notre Dame, which has a great dramatic orchestra, and Hellfire is the greatest villain song ever. This is where Frollo decides that he'll have to kill Esmeralda if he can't fuck her. He sees a fiery Esmeralda dancing in the fireplace, and sees these hooded figures chanting in Latin surrounding him. It's just fucking great! So there's a lot of great things about this movie, and it's a favorite among the Disney fans. It's not among my favorites, but you can call me a fan. I even think that the changes from the book work for a movie. It's just easier to develop a character if he can speak. In fact, things that don't really work in this animated Disney musical are your typical Disney animated musical tropes. If you remove the comic relief, the love triangle, square quadrangle, and the lighter songs, you'd have a stronger movie. If you took more stuff from the book too, Esmeralda and Phoebus would also be more interesting, and even though I somewhat praise Topsy-Turvy and Court of Miracles, I think that they should have been shortened or removed altogether. But having said all this, Hunchback of Notre Dame is a very good movie. It's darker than most Disney movies, it has a great villain, some great songs, a likable protagonist, and a great climax. If you haven't seen The Hunchback of Notre Dame, check it out. I also highly recommend reading the book. There's even a sex scene between Esmeralda and Phoebus.